All right. We are live,
Hello.
Hello,
ladies.
everyone.
Hello. So I'm not seeing anybody on yet. Can you guys see? I see one person. Can you guys see how many people are on in the corner? Are
It
you
says one.
as
Yes,
a
yes, we
guest? Okay.
yes
Okay.
we
Cool.
can. I don't know if we can see all the comments. I will
I can
monitor.
just see Jared Tracy, Pasadena Paranormal.
Um, I
Yep.
will monitor intuition of the soul. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Because you don't always see.
And
But we're going to ask you to join us on YouTube.
YouTube. Yes. All right.
You
Okay. So
too.
we have one person on here. Yeah,
All
we have
right.
one person on here so far, and
Very,
it's
very special
Jared
guest.
posted that. Yeah, Jared posted that at 8:42 this morning, though, so it's not. Oh, we have five
Sue,
Oh
people.
it's
gosh, I didn't
Hello,
Sue.
see
Sue.
this.
We're up to 5. Hi.
I've been at the beach
Hi,
all day. I
Heather.
didn't even realize that 8:42 isn't come yet. It
Yeah,
feels like 8:42 to me. Sorry. We
Sue,
got
could we bother
Heather and
you?
Sue.
Can we bother anybody that's on Facebook? If you have YouTube, could you please, please, please do us a favor and not watch on Facebook, but watch on YouTube? We're trying to grow our YouTube communities and trying to get watch hours, and it's very hard to do. So we're going to, Intuition is, IOTS is going to eventually stop doing lives on Facebook once they start training people to go over to YouTube. Because we're trying to make money a little bit. Hey, Beth.
Hi,
Hi,
Beth.
Heather. Yep. So if anybody's on Facebook that has YouTube, if you could please go over to YouTube to either link. Hold on. I posted it in Get Spooky everywhere. Sue, can you go on Get Spooky's Facebook and get it? I posted it everywhere. Hey, Jamie. How are you,
Jamie's
my
on.
dear?
You should be able to just go to our page and it will be playing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if it's too complicated,
Yeah.
we'll work on the training of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Beth switching.
Do
So
what you can.
do what
Just
you
don't
can.
leave either.
Yeah, just don't
Don't
leave.
leave. But if you can, it would be very much appreciated. And we're just going to educate everybody that doesn't know because, we get aggravated, but it's because people don't know. On YouTube, once you have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in 1 year, then you can monetize. It still doesn't cost anybody, any of our viewers, anything, and we get very little, but every little bit helps. So that's why we ask that. Thanks, you, Heather.
And thank you, Jamie. Yes, she said if you go there, it's right there. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie just sent me a message before, I don't know when she sent it, but just before I got on. And I'm going to be talking to that girl because she picked a song that nobody should know was important to me. And it is. So that was pretty cool, Jamie.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Go, Jamie.
Go, Jamie. Yeah, really. Ding.
We are,
ding, 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 ding.
Tonight we are all here. Kitty, Amy, Jay, and I are all here, and we are doing another episode of Optimize and Hold the Space for Inspiration. And tonight we just want to talk about, it's a judgment-free zone, but we want to talk about the difference between judgment, opinion. Hey, Beth. Hey, Sue.
Thank you, guys.
Opinion, and when, yes, thank you. And when it becomes a problem. So, we all judge. We all judge. We can't help it. We're human. Hey, Stephen. I'm assuming it's Stephen. Stephen's father's funeral was today. I'm so sorry. Prayers to you.
Well, and your family. To hear that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'd like to give a shout out to Teresa Freiberg, who lost her brother.
Yeah.
We're thinking of you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, we are thinking of you, Teresa. Tonight is not about pulling cards, but I'm pulling a few cards just for the collective.
Because she likes pulling cards.
I do. I'm the card reader.
You do.
I brought mine just in case.
All right. So before we dive into what we want to talk about tonight, I got 3 cards. And the first one is Stranger and Curiosity. These are the Shaman's deck. Stranger and Curiosity. And it's a 53. So that's an
Steph,
8.
it's pixeling. Can you try to hold it back a little bit? It's a beautiful card. There, that's a little bit better.
My internet's really crappy right at the moment too.
Okay.
So it's showing this man, a black man, and he's crouched by a little pond, it looks like. And he's in boots and he's got like these wings on his back, but wings coming from his eyes. And he's got the light, the like firefly lights. And so Stranger and Curiosity. So I'm getting, and this is it's an 8, a 53 or an 8. So the message I'm getting is be careful what you're attracting and be careful what you're attracted to, like the moth to the flame, the light. Because the old adage, curiosity killed the cat. So there could be some strangers that are coming. Hey, Miss Southern Belle. There could be some strangers that might come into your life. Be just really careful. It's okay to be curious, but they might not all be good. And the next one I got was a 56, The Wall and Obstacles. The Wall and Obstacles. And it's a 56, so that's an 11. So I'm getting here that, wow, okay. They just screamed at me, you must look to your community to help you over the wall, to help you pass the obstacles. So look to your community for help with that. And the very last one I got was the Fortune's Wheel, Luck and Right Timing. And it's a 23 or a 5. So luck and right timing. And a 5 would be about fun. So it looks to me like, once we get past those, once we don't get sucked in by the wrong and attract the wrong energies, and we get our community to help us over the wall and the obstacles, we're going to have some fortune coming that's going to bring us more fun. Okay.
I'll take it.
Excellent.
I'll claim that.
I like it.
And if it's okay, Stephanie, I'd love to give a little of the astrological perspective.
Yes.
That compared with our subject tonight. You know, the first card is so spot on about what we're attracting, because Neptune is retrograde, which whenever a planet goes retrograde, that means it's internal. And Neptune's low denser vibration is about addiction. And often our judgments and what we get drawn into and attract to us are kind of putting those things in our face. And the hardest addiction is drama. Because we don't always know we're even participating in it. It triggers something and we jump right in, and we, all holds bar, and we think we're doing one thing, but it's really what's drawing us in that web. So that makes perfect sense. And we're seeing it. That's why we're on tonight. Yes. We're seeing that behavior. Yes.
Wow, Kitty, that was, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Amy got a message on our Vibe of the Week that was all about that. About, do you remember the message, Amy?
No. I know. I'm sorry. I'm like, what did I say? Sometimes though you get that stuff and
right.
But it was about it goes.
It was about rising above and not getting into the drama, and making the choices, what you're being called to do, and paying attention to it. So it was all, it's been a message coming through. So.
Sure. Yeah. And there's certainly a lot of drama out there to get into.
Right. Just because you are silent or you aren't fighting and aren't partaking in the drama doesn't mean that you don't have your beliefs, your opinions. It doesn't mean you aren't fighting for what they are. It just means that you're not adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Amy, you got anything to add to this opening?
Well, I agree with that, because sometimes you're not adding fuel to the fire. You're just kind of quietly staying in your strength to strengthen, the other part of that. You know, it's there's just a lot of drama out there right now, and definitely the best thing to do is kind of stay away from it. But that's not to say that you don't get sucked in or it doesn't come up in your life. So I think that's the important thing, is how do you handle it in a more spiritual way, so that you're not getting sucked in. And we're going to be talking about judgments, and we're going to be talking about forced opinions and this kind of thing. So it's a perfect topic, because right now it's like, when do you respond, and when do you just stay quiet in your own strength and just say,
and
I'm not going to be a part of that?
And how you respond when
And
you choose
how.
to
Right.
respond. Right.
When or how.
Yeah.
Right. When
Right.
or how. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So
Correct. Hello, Ghostly Whispers and Hecpus and Shan, and thank you, Miss Southern Belle. She said she gets messages. Let's see. I think I got everybody now. Excellent. Yeah. So, these lives are all about. One of the things that I found is, with the lives that I've done, just doing card readings, is a lot of people that came on would say, oh my gosh, this is a drama free. This is so positive. This is so inspirational. And then one day Spirit was like, I woke up and they were like, you have to do a live that's hold the space. You have to hold the space for inspiration. And that's why we started this a few weeks ago. And so this is all about holding the space. This is about those of us that are light workers, holding the space of inspiration for others, being that safe place for everybody to come to and discuss different things. And so tonight we just want to talk about, how can we curb, judge, have opinions, but not really let it judge others, and how can we react in a positive way, and so we can attract more positivity towards us versus negativity. And hey, Shan, thank you for coming over to YouTube, my dear. Absolutely. It is about love. It is about, hey, Ghost Adventures of Cornwall. So one of the things that we were discussing among ourselves is, we all judge. We're human. We're all absolutely entitled to our own opinions and our own beliefs. It's absolutely nobody's business what I believe or my opinion on anything. With social media, all of a sudden it's everybody's business, what time you get up in the morning and what you eat for breakfast. So we were discussing, as the three of us, there is no absolute black and white, but how we've been helping each other when we start to get upset and stressed and start to judge other people, how we're helping each other bring it back, rein it in. So, Kitty, you want to talk a little bit about how you feel and how you're working on not judging others, and still having your own opinions and beliefs?
Yeah, I was telling first I was going to share a story with everyone today, because boy, when you get yourself wound up, it's been a long time since I've had something that kind of wound me up. And when I was done with it, for the first time in a very, very long time, I could feel that physical chemical that happens when you get into that judgment and you get really wound up. And I was like, wow, there is some addicting to that. Like, one of the things, if you've ever done a 12-step program, they'll tell you serenity's boring, because we're so used to having this stimulus input. So actually it'll be about a year in September. Amy and I both set a goal to do some work with people around judgments, because we were finding in our community, people were right fighters. This is the way you should do it. And this is what I know. And spirit told me this. And we were like, no. Um, and so we started actually, and I had discovered the work of Byron Katie, who has spent her entire life teaching people how to look at their judgments, not have them, but the first thing she teaches people is you have to recognize that you're judging. And that's a really hard, it's hard for all three of us. Like we'll be talking and one of us will say something and we'll all go, that's judging, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
sounds a little judgy.
that was a little judgy. Or we'll announce it. This is going to be judgy.
So I shouldn't say it,
but well, and then we usually correct it, because what I've come to understand about judgment is, if I have an opinion, as long as I'm owning my behavior of the opinion, like I don't like it, this is how I react, that's where my conversation should stop. Not the minute I tell you, or I start in my mind saying you're just a bad person or you're pissed, whatever, then I've moved into that realm of judging. And I've let go of the responsibility of my own thoughts, because if I don't own my own thoughts, there's nothing, I don't have any room or to negotiate and give you your space. And so that's one reason we were drawn to the work of Byron Katie, because she gives you 4 questions. And
well, before you start on that, can I say something?
Sure. I was just going to say, the 4 questions, and we started looking at that, and that's how we started pulling it apart. We'll talk about the questions later, but that's kind of where what I think of when judging. I'm trying to teach myself to give space to other people, and me just to own what I think. Okay, Amy,
and before you go, Amy, let's say hi to Kat, Michelle, and Yvonne. And I do want to say, I did miss your live earlier, Miss Southern Belle, but you are absolutely correct. She is absolutely correct. Find something positive about the person and say it. And she's saying right here, remember, if you do something kind, good comes your way, because you are putting out what you want to attract. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. Yep.
Don't judge yourself as well too hard. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Live in gratitude. Okay, Amy, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say about the opinion and the judgment. I think that lately, and just the last few years, the lines have been blurred between opinion and judgment. That people are saying, this is my opinion, but they're saying it like a judgment. Like, I'm right, you need to listen, even though they think that it's their opinion. So it's kind of got all muddied in there when we think maybe we're expressing our opinion, or someone may feel like they're expressing their opinion, but it really goes much farther than that, because their intent is to get you to agree with them or to think like them. So the Byron Katie questions are so good, because they all go put back on you, not on someone else, not when someone else is saying, but how you are saying something and how you are feeling about what's being said and that kind of thing. So that's what's so nice about the Byron Katie. And I think that we need to do more of that. I think that we need to be a little more conscientious about our conversations that we have, so that we can be aware, does this sound, am I being judgmental? Is this a judgmental statement? Or am I trying to just state my opinion? Because when you are giving your opinion, when you say this is my opinion, then that implies this is how I feel, and I'm okay with how you feel as well. A judgment is kind of like, this is how I feel, now you feel like me. So I think that, it's a really wonderful topic right now for us to talk about this, because there's so much changing in our world. And part of what needs to change is how we communicate with each other and our part in it.
Yeah. And so one of the big breakthroughs Common self-respect and listening is gone. I would absolutely agree with that. So one of the breakthroughs that I had on Thanksgiving of last year is that, and oh, by the way, I did say Yvonne was on. So thank you so much, Michelle, for reminding us that Yvonne is at her house. But last year, I have a lot of dynamics that, and I can tend to get upset and let it trigger me. And one of the things is letting other people's reactions trigger me. And so I finally realized last year, right before the holidays, that and it's hard because I have to remind myself all the time, I am only responsible for me, my actions, and my reactions. Every individual, it's on you. So if you do something to piss me off that I don't agree with, I'm responsible for how I react to that. I'm not responsible for what you did or how you go on about your day. I'm only responsible for me, how I act and how I react.
Mhm.
So that's been eye-opening for me.
You know, the next piece of that is when I own myself, I don't make sweeping statements about others,
Yeah.
because that goes to the first, you know, like when somebody will say, I don't know, uh, all something, or people just don't blah blah blah. I don't actually think that way anymore, because then I go to the question of, do I know that that's true? Byron Katie's first question. That is a judgment. So when I start to own it as an opinion, I feel like sometimes I don't know enough people who are able to listen. That is me owning. And that's what I do know. The sweepingness of our statements also magnifies judgments. And so that's the other piece when I look at my opinion is my judgment, because it is. And if I can keep it about me, like you were saying, Stephanie, about your Thanksgiving, then I don't make broad statements anymore. I don't say, God, the world is sad, because I don't necessarily feel that anymore.
Mhm.
Because I'm keeping it this way. And it's not me putting rose-colored glasses on. It's me minding my own business. I don't
Right.
know that the world is sad. I have no way of polling everybody in the world.
Yeah.
And so what I can say is I see things that it seems are sad people out there. But if I don't quantitative it doesn't trigger all of those things and emotions and thought patterns. Then I make it personal about my life, and wow, you know, then that stress hormone goes all over. So I remember that, Stephanie, at Thanksgiving. You just went, you know what? I'm just going to have a good time. That was my decision.
Right.
You
I
know,
don't know who the Facebook user is because I can't see that.
it's Robin.
Oh,
Oh.
Robin.
Hey, Robin.
Robin. Hi. We can't see, a lot of people can't see what your comments are. If you jump over to one of our YouTube channels, though, we'll be able to all see what you're commenting, because right now you're the only one seeing them, I think. Anyway, the other thing was too, and I was just speaking to a very good friend of mine who was a minister at a Methodist church, following in his father's footsteps, and he decided, and he can tell his story. But I always forget who said this. It's not me, but who said this, and he always says it to me. Let me see if I can get it right. You may not remember or understand what I said, but I hope you remember how you felt when I said it. So if you think about that, if you say mean, judgmental, nasty things to somebody, how are they going to feel later? How are they going to remember that? So you may not understand or agree with something that somebody says. Thank you, Robin. What somebody says, but how do you feel? How do you remember how you felt when they said it? I think that's kind of deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to remember.
Well, in just the same way, like if you say something, how is it going to make that person feel? So
Right.
that's a check on yourself, you know.
Exactly.
Is this worth saying? How is that person going to feel if I say that?
Exactly.
And I do think there are people, I don't know this to be true, but there are people who don't think about other people when they are speaking.
Mhm.
I sometimes am not thinking about the other people when I'm speaking, so I can own that behavior. But if we learn to listen with what our reaction is, we don't engage in this kind of play.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then it's easier to have, you know, we always talk about boundaries. It's easier to have boundaries when I own, yeah, that doesn't make me comfortable, you know, but I'm guilty. I'll see something sometimes on Facebook, especially very recently, and down the hole I jump, you know.
Yeah.
And I do try to or I do make my answers as spiritual as I can make them, like cite your reference when somebody gives me a sweeping statement, or and not I have stayed away from name calling, but I do try to work on if there's a point where I can feel, this is how I describe the feeling, like I'm keeping going in it, then I know this is about me and not this person I'm dealing with. This is my judgment about this. And now I've crossed into judging and trying to control and the very things I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's really great if I can keep, how are they going to feel about that? But sometimes all I can do is just say, I'm out of here. I'm
Mhm.
not behaving the way I would like to
Well,
behave.
and that's okay though, because you're still thinking about what am I going to say and how, and how they're going to feel about it. You choose just not to say it. You just choose to remove yourself from the situation.
Hmm.
And that's, we've all had to do that before we insert the foot in the mouth and do that kind of stuff. And I think that's perfectly okay to just, disengage or say, you know what?
Right.
Detach.
I've had to say that before. I have a family that are, well, okay. They just have strong opinions that don't necessarily match with mine. And I say to them all the time, this is not a conversation I will have with you.
Mhm.
I will not talk to you about this right now or probably ever if I was being truthful. But, it's okay, I think, to disengage before
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
do get triggered and get into that, to just say, you know what, I'm not going to discuss that, or to move yourself out of the situation if it's a bigger group type conversation or something. I think that's a good way to stay.
It's a good way for me to stay a little humble
Yeah.
Yeah.
and detach,
Okay. Yeah. Good
you
word.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just you know what? First of all, in life's bigger scheme, do you ever ask yourself that question? In life's bigger scheme, is this energy worth it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it is, I have difficulty when people are, this is the way it should be, and spirit said, and it's like, wow, that's a huge judgmental trigger for me.
I want
Mhm.
to go
Huge.
back to what Miss Southern Belle said here, real quick, because she said that more people remember things that are, negative or mean about you
Mhm.
than something that's good. And Kitty, help me remember this, but there's like some kind of they say, how many times do you have to hear something positive to negate that mean thing? And I
Oh
know
yeah.
there's a certain number, and I can't remember, but that's what she made me think of.
It's like I think it's something like 10 or 15 times to negate one negative sentence.
Yes,
Mhm.
and
And
think about that.
Yeah.
you
Think
know,
about that.
Yeah.
and for me, whether this is Kohlberg's stage of reasoning, one of Crime and Punishment, or Glorious, I that's not the karma I want to put out. And I think that that's part of the reason I wanted to
Right.
come on tonight, is because what is it I want to, we do create the world we see. And I'm not talking about not being realistic, but if we concentrate on those things that trigger us, we get more of them.
Mhm.
And if we
Right.
concentrate on those things
Right.
that inspire us, which, Stephanie, I think it's wonderful you've taken this step to inspire, that's what we bring back. And that includes in judgments. Okay. If I'm judging that, I'm going to get in.
Mhm.
I know, I don't know it all. That's why I like her questions. Do you
Right.
know that this is true?
Mm.
And almost always you say,
Yeah.
yes, I do. And then the
And
second
we're
question, do you really know this is true? Then you go,
we're gonna
mm.
go we're going to go through all of those because I have them and we're going to go through all of them. But I want to give a couple other examples. And as we're sitting here, I'm having another epiphany. So the last time, Kitty, that I got so triggered that I was seeing black. And you guys, I grew up, I'm a Scorpio, a hothead, and I was like more ready to fight than anything. I grew up in a small town of mean people. And so I had to learn to take care of myself. And so I fought a lot. I'm just going to put it out there. So the last situation that I was involved in a month or so ago, that I lost my cool to begin with because they triggered me and I couldn't stop myself. And I did walk away. But now I'm thinking back on it, thinking, wow, what if I had just gone up to that person and gave him my hand and said, look, I don't want to fight with you. Let's discuss this and let's not be at each other's throats. Instead of me screaming, them screaming at me screaming at them, and me walking away, not solving anything. I don't know. Maybe they would have told me to go to hell. That's fine. But I may have fixed something. Life is too damn short. I do want to say one other thing. Before my course correction and my cancer, I was, going. I get mad if the line at the grocery was too long. I get mad if somebody cut me off. I get mad at all these things. And, I was always in a hurry. I didn't have time to worry about what somebody went through that day or what was on their mind or if they meant to cut me off or not. And then I get cancer and I'm doing chemo. And if you've never had chemo before, it's kind of like having COVID. You don't even know who you are, what you're doing. You're in a daze. I probably shouldn't have been driving. I'm wearing a wig and I'm on my way to work and I'm on the highway. And I did not mean to cut somebody off, but in my daze, I accidentally cut somebody off. And of course, they're screaming at me, cussing at me. They come up to me, giving me the finger. And I ripped my wig off and the look on their face was, oh my gosh, because they had no idea what was going on in my life. And from that moment on, I have relapses, but from that moment on, if somebody cuts me off or somebody cuts in front of me or somebody's slow or if they cut me off on purpose, I just say to myself, they must be in a really big hurry. I don't know what's going on. And I just let it go. I don't get upset about it anymore because you truly do not know what that person is going through at that time. It's not for you to know or judge.
It isn't.
Absolutely good point.
It is.
You don't know what's going on in other people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told, we were talking about that just today, wasn't it, or yesterday? That she told me that story, and I had told her a story I had read about, and I would be this person about a subway ride, and some kids were out of control, and they were really bothering somebody, and this person spoke up and said, "Get your kids under control." And the gentleman looked up and said, "Oh, I guess I should. I've been at the hospital all night. My wife died."
Yeah.
Oh, I got chills.
And then all of a sudden, what does it matter? And one of the things, I had very bad road rage, flipping. And I learned one day.
You learned to drive in Detroit. Come on.
Yeah. But I learned one day in a Al-Anon program, somebody said, and I started saying when I would feel myself rage, "Bless you, change me. Bless you, change me." Because they were happily driving along and I'm behind them and going, "You know what? Bless you, change me."
Yeah.
That's the only person I have control
over. The
over.
other part of that is, Kitty, that when we get so upset about things like that, they have no freaking idea.
No.
They don't know you're mad. They don't know you're upset. They're just going about their own business. They don't even care.
Right.
So, I mean, if you can think about that too. So here I am, reacting this way. And what is it doing? Because they don't even care. They don't even know. They're just driving on their way,
And it's not about them anyway.
No.
That's why it has changed the way I drive. Bless you, change me. Impatience at a light because somebody doesn't pull away. Bless you, change me. because
Yeah.
that's the only thing we've got to do. So, I wonder where that man is when I wonder how that story is. He tells that story
Yeah.
about losing it and a changing moment in his life.
Yep.
You know,
I want to go back to what Heather said up here. She said that she spent the last 25 to 30 years working with and helping people who are marginalized, and she has learned the art of being mindful of every word she says. So every word that comes out of her mouth is a choice. I love that.
I bless you, Heather, because
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I so now think about, and I even talk to myself, is that really what you want to think? Even in my own thoughts now, not in a hard way, because I'd like the person who said, remember to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because I used to be like, don't be like that. Well, I was literally being what, so even being kind to yourself, that's how you change your own patterns too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I do too. And none of us are better than anybody else. It doesn't it doesn't matter your upbringing.
I can't stand to drive.
Yeah. It doesn't
It's one way to
matter.
avoid road rage.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're broke and standing on the street corner or if you have $1 million. It doesn't matter. Nobody is better than anybody else. We're all each unique individuals entitled to our own beliefs and opinions. And my beliefs and opinions are nobody else's business. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, that's a really important one. And boy, is that hard to learn, because there's a line between I help my brother, he ain't heavy, he's my brother, and I want my brother to do what I want them to do, and I'm um, this isn't an easy journey that we walk each other on.
Yeah. And Ghostly Whisper says most people have lost their social skills due to social media, and that's true because everybody is really tough behind the computer.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna ask that question. Do we know that that's true?
That's true. That's true.
Does it seem that? Do I feel that sometimes? I'm just going to own that. Yeah, I do feel that, but I don't really know that that's true. And what I have found, because during like the political climate, when I changed how I was reacting, boy, I had a lovely feed. People say, "Oh, I can't turn on." I'd be like, "I have a lovely feed." So again, we'll go back to, we put this out. Mm-hmm. What is it we want back?
Right. But I think, I don't know for sure. I don't know what she means, but I think she means that people tend to write on social media.
Oh, that's very, yes.
Bolder things than what they would have face to face. So they've lost some of that. We all, I think, have lost a little bit of that face to face etiquette.
Yeah. Well, and you can be who you want to be. It's like the slam books, and only it's at a larger thing. But again, there's that bless you, change me. If that is what someone else needs to do to make their life better, if I don't enter into it, I know, I get it, because it is easy too. And it's easy to get dragged into, oh my God, I just did it this week. I was like, why am I down this hole doing this? Really? Why am I doing this? Right. I could be as nice as I want and trying to be logical with them, but is it going to change them? Probably not. Am I, just what you said, Amy, am I sitting here going, okay, and they're fine? Yeah, they're fine. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah. So it is. I love the idea. I think of all of the words, all of the things I say, and it's hard.
The thing that was very liberating to me is knowing that I am not here to be the judge or the jury. And I had such epiphanies the other day. Spirit was talking and talking and talking and talking in my ear, saying, think about in all the ways that you've judged in the past and different things. Like, I was absolutely capital punishment to the end. If you shot that person, you should be shot. And now I'm like, no, because I'm not the judge and I'm not the jury, and I can't sit on a jury. I don't care if it's shoplifting. I can't sit on the jury because it's not my job to judge that person, regardless of what it is. So that was liberating for me.
Yeah. I want to share a story too that I had when I was teaching. I had this co-teacher in the same grade level. I went from special ed, I had to go to second grade. And that was a big, huge adjustment for me from having a few individual students to having a whole classroom. And I've kind of always been the one that would do my own thing anyway. You know, I felt like as long as I was doing my job and the kids were learning, I didn't need to fit into this little box kind of thing. So this second grade teacher that I was a co-teacher, she had this box that everybody was supposed to fit into. And so she did not like how I was teaching, even though my kids were learning, you know, they were engaged. I had a great time. The kids were having a great time. The parents were satisfied with my job and all this. And so she kept complaining, and she'd go to the principal. And I read the 4 Agreements. If you've ever read that book, if you have never read that book, read it. It was life-changing, because this teacher would just get on me, and she'd come up and she'd throw all this judgment in my face. And in there, one of the things he says is to just say, well, you know what? This sounds like this is your problem and not mine. And I kept repeating that. Well, first it pissed her off even worse, because I didn't get upset. I just said, this sounds like it's your problem, not mine. And I kept repeating that every time she'd come up, like, why are you doing this? And you shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, you know, and again, so then she went to my principal, and the principal was like, what are you saying to her? And I said, I'm telling her this sounds like your problem, not mine. And she goes, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. But I mean, it's how we react when we talk about how we react to things. I was very calm and that kind of thing, but I'm just like, I'm not getting into that with you, because I don't have a problem. You know, this is your problem with me. I don't have a problem with you. But so that really helped me in dealing with, you know, some of those she was very judgmental on how I should do everything. And so that was a big eye opener for me, and how to react and respond to someone like that, rather than going back and being just as combative with her. Right. I just was really calm and said, I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and say, you know, this sounds like your problem, not mine, and walk away. And she didn't know how to respond to that. She wanted that engagement. She wanted that fight. And there are people out there that want that.
Right.
You know, I love that. I love that story. Take nothing personal. Yeah. Really, it isn't personal. Other people's opinions are not even if they're about you, it's not personal.
Exactly,
you know,
Kitty.
Social media is not personal. Yeah. You know, it's an entity. It's you know, oh, that sounds like that's your problem. You know, it is. We are social media, so how we deal with it is what it is. You know, I love that story, Amy. I so do. That sounds like your problem. Wow. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, if you see, her face would get red, and she would just didn't know what to do with her anger. Right. Because I completely blew it off. And so
we have a little bit of discussion going on here, again, going back to social media and how there's no repercussions. I mean, you know, unless you, there could be, but mostly you might get in Facebook jail or something, or banned, and then you just make another account or whatever. But and there is no body line. Yeah. There's no, whether it's texting or Facebook or whatever it is, there is no way to know exactly, because there is no voice modulation expression. Like, it's really hard to interpret. So like one of my last posts, people were interpreting it to be about me, and it wasn't about me. I was just using something about my life as an example to judgment and power and greed and what it was. But everybody was like, oh, Stephanie, no. This isn't about me. I'm just using that as an example. But I went back and I read it, and the way I wrote it wasn't how I meant it. So I had to kind of rewrite it.
And that is, judgment is a natural part. We interpret, we talk about social media, but there were never repercussion for Dear John letters. There's never, for years ago, there was never, for, in the old schoolhouse, dip in the ink wells, or isolating. Those forms of bullying weren't as broad spread. I get that it's magnified, but again, it is interesting when we learn to say, you know what Amy said sounds like your problem.
Right.
It's hard because we want to be accepted, we want to be loved, but that's an outside judgment that somebody's better than us and they have more information coming into us. So yeah, this is not an easy thing to track. So and I read but I knew what Stephanie was writing, and you could see why somebody else might go off on something else. So again, if we don't assume that's something out of you and me, that we understand what the judge is, what their thoughts were behind it, like when you took your wig off, like when the gentleman said, yeah, I probably should, but we don't know. We don't know in words what something always means. We don't.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Our reaction.
Right. Yeah.
So
we are responsible for.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the 4 questions really quick, shall we?
I think we should.
Sure.
This is a good time.
Yeah.
So this is Byron Katie, and the 4 questions are: is it true? So if something triggers you, is that what this is? If something triggers you, the first thing you should ask, is it true? Okay. What's your answer to that? The second question is, but can you absolutely know that it's true?
It's true. Yeah. Is it really true?
Is it really true?
The
third thing is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that it is true? Right? And then if you do believe it's true, who would you be without that thought?
Right. And that's the key. You can use a question like if you said something like, all teenagers are crazy. That's kind of a banal statement, but do you know that's true? Well, yeah, they pretty much are. Do you really absolutely know that's true? And even if I say, well, yeah, I think they all go through something, then you say, what happens when that's true? Well, then you can't predict them, and you feel uncomfortable, and when they're around, it's really taxing. Now, if I let go of that belief, that means each individual teenager I'm evaluating, what happens? I'm not anticipating something. And it's like, wow, it goes back to you. You're free if you let go of the belief. That's what it comes down to.
That's
you become free.
That's exactly what it's designed for. And whether you're saying the statements or someone else is saying the statement, the questions can be the same. I love it because it really makes you stop and think.
And I love the part, if I let go of this, what would it mean? Well, I wouldn't be sweating and I wouldn't be clenching my jaw, and and go back to what you said, Amy. It made no difference for the teenagers in the world that I just said that, but it made a difference. But it would make a difference for the next teenager I may meet if I let go of the belief.
Exactly. Stephanie, you should almost put those in the comments or something. So because that way people could maybe screenshot it or something like that.
Well, and if you go on YouTube, Byron Katie has all kinds of YouTube.
Right.
And she gives this for free, the questions. You can download her book for free. About this.
Yeah. It won't, but you know what? Here's the other thing I'm going to do. It won't I screenshot it and it won't let me copy it, but I did not realize this was what book this came from. I learned so much about like childhood books and stuff. So I want to read the little excerpt from the book that it came from, and then I'll put I'll get the link and put it in here for everybody.
Okay.
So the book that it comes from is Chicken Little. So it's the classic folktale Chicken Little. I know you've all heard of it, and I'm on a different screen, so if I look funny, that's why. Henny Penny feels a smack on her head and immediately concludes that the sky is falling. Her friend Cocky Locky asks her if that is true. Ducky Lucky jumps in with, can you absolutely know that it's true, that the sky is falling? Goosey Lucy tries to help her decide by suggesting she describe how she is feeling. Turkey Lurkey asks her, who would you be without the thought that the sky is falling, even though you have a bump on your head? Once Henny Penny answers all these questions, she feels like a different chicken. But Foxy Loxy complicates matters by asking her why having the sky fall could be a good thing. When she answers brilliantly, the sly fox invites the chicken, the rooster, the duck, and the goose, and the turkey to his house for lunch. But fortunately, Henny Penny now knows good questions to ask before they go.
Very
I
good.
absolutely love it.
Who did that?
What?
Did Byron Katie use that as her example? That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That she yeah.
But
But
yeah.
it is. She does have a version, if you look at of her book and those questions to download. There's actually an app called The Work, and you can put it in your phone. And so if you're stuck one day, put your judgment in, and it takes you through those questions.
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, there's so many great resources, but it changes the way that that you're thinking, and it changes. It stops making those blanket general statements that are a lot of times, judgment is in those. And so it really puts the responsibility back on you.
Mhm.
Is this true? Do I know it to be true?
True, right? And if I let go of this belief,
And
what
if I let
happens
go
to
of
my
this, yeah.
to my life? And so it's not only about being altruistic and taking care of others, but it's actually taking care of yourself. And I'm gonna put a plug in here. Intuition of the Soul on YouTube has a playlist, and we had a speaker who is Byron Katie, trained in the work. Her name was Jen Durask, and that our program is on there. So feel
Yeah,
free
it was
to watch that. It was a really awesome program.
Well,
So
the way I'm reading it, so I just put the link in. The way I'm reading it, Byron Katie wrote the book. If I'm reading
Chicken
it right.
Little?
Yeah.
no, she didn't write. Henny Penny's been a long.
Are you sure?
Oh yes, Chicken Little's been around for a very, very, very long time. Yeah, that was in my folktale.
I was gonna say
series.
that's been along for a really, really long time.
But I love how she adapted it, because that is the whole true, and how she got it. And if you read the story of Henny Penny and this is how she got everybody into her judgments. That's the real story, and got them all panicking and fighting. That's what the story was about. So I love that she picked that particular children's story too. But Byron Katie has been doing this work for about 20 years or so. But anyway, so that was my plug for the library. Jen Durask, she has a whole.
She adapted the story, Sue said.
Yeah. She had Byron Katie has a whole school, if you're interested in working with people on judgments and all that you can attend and be a certified person and all that stuff.
But Jen Durask was so generous in that she offered so many free things by clicking on her website and stuff. So truly check her out. She was really amazing to have on, but then she also again offered so many free resources for people on her website.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things all of us can learn, even as we're talking about this judgment. None of us here have the answer. All of us have our judgments, and damn, they show up sometimes. And
we're all Chicken Littles at one time.
It does take surrounding yourself with people who ask you to be your best and who help you look at those things. And these two ladies I'm talking to, God love you, a few of the ladies out there, sometimes when you're talking and you see other people's faces go like this, you go, ah.
That's probably me, because I can't. If I'm thinking it or feeling it, it is all over my face. Well, I cannot hide it. I can't just go because I'm like,
yeah. Well, but that's what your friends and your social circle, people that want to inspire, do for you. They kind of help you back up a little bit and go, okay, right. I'm unhinged. Let me screw the hinge back on and really take a look at what there is to learn from this. Yeah.
But Kitty, that's a really, really important part, because we are human. We do come unhinged. We do have to rant and rave, but it's who you rant and rave with. So if
Yeah.
you have that person where you can say, I just need to unload,
Yeah.
you know, okay, unload. But then you step back and you say, okay, so where's my part in this? What do I need to do? But sometimes we just need to get that initial energy out and then go back and try to observe it and say that. But if you're doing it with someone who's trusted, you know, loves you and is going to let you do that, that's different than taking it out on Joe the mailman or something.
Right. And Stephanie had a really good story before we got on. We were chatting about how we do have people who don't understand that. They want somebody to tell them how to be and give them an answer, because it isn't easy. There's nothing easy about this journey.
Right.
And
Right.
it doesn't mean it isn't fun and loving and enjoyable, but and I do think that's sometimes what we see on social media, people just looking for someone to tell them how to be, or the person who wants to tell everybody how to be, so that makes them okay,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's, God bless them. Bless them, change me.
Yeah, Michelle says, even Chris is watching. She said earlier, her husband, he's even, so she and Yvonne and Chris are all watching. They are all real issues. And, you know, instead of fighting with other people and judging them, I like what Kitty just said. The best thing to do, you know, who has similar opinions and beliefs as you. So talk to that person, talk to those people, and feel where you can be safe and where you know somebody is going to agree with you, then rather than judging somebody else and trying to change their mind, because it's not for you to change their mind, because they're entitled to their own belief or opinion. So just, you know, you don't have to like everybody, you don't have to be, you know, in everybody's life. You can choose to walk away from certain people that you just don't have the same likes and dislikes as, and just surround yourself with others. I keep seeing it on social media. So you don't like same-sex marriage, well then don't marry your sex. You know, you don't like, if you don't like carrots, don't eat carrots. Like, it's pretty damn simple.
Well,
Just,
yeah, it really is. It is.
Pity of pain.
I mean, I'm not going to follow. Yeah,
Don't marry a carrot.
I'm not going to follow. I'm not going to follow certain groups on social media that I completely disagree with. I'm just not going to follow them. I'm going to follow groups that I do agree with. Yeah. It doesn't mean that my opinion is right, but I'm surrounding myself with people in groups that I do agree with, rather than fighting with those that I don't.
And I do cultivate my friends that can agree to disagree.
Right.
That is an art, to agree to disagree. And I can be guilty of walking away. I still think they're, but I can at least neutralize it. I can agree to just disagree with you.
Right.
Just like Amy looked at this woman and said, really, that sounds like your problem. So, you know, we're like, that's agreeing to disagree.
It is.
You know,
and
it is,
you know, I want to share this story because sometimes it's about our perspective.
Yes, let's talk about perspective.
Yeah. Everybody looks at things from a different point of view. So it's almost kind of like their opinion too. What is their, and let me share this story with you that just happened to me. And yes, I do feel like I probably, you know, there was some judgment in there on my parts. So let me just tell you the story. Okay. So I have family members that I consider to be, you know, really evangelical. I mean, you know, Bible thumpers, whatever you want to call, and but very, very evangelical and this type of thing. And I was talking to my sister-in-law, who's married to my brother, and she was telling me about her dad is he has dementia. And he has one of the Alzheimer's or whatever, that's where they become kind of mean. They say mean things. They're a little bit aggressive. And his wife, which is her stepmom, is really having a hard time dealing with that. And she said, so they're not getting along right now. And so she's exasperated because she's also got a special needs daughter that requires 24/7 care. And so the stepmom's calling her to go over there to take care of dad. And she said, I'm really tired of this, because she is one of those religious fanatics. And I just went, if she's because in my opinion, she is evangelical, very much a religious fanatic. And I thought, she doesn't see herself that way.
Right.
That's how I see her. That's how
Right.
I perceive her. But
Right.
yet she says that about her mother-in-law or her stepmom, because her stepmom is must be having a lot of judgment based on her religious experiences or something. But it kind of blew my mind and kind of made me think about what we're talking about tonight is she does not see her family that way at all. But that's how I perceive that family.
Mm-hmm.
But she perceives someone else like I perceive her. And I'm just like, that just really started me thinking about when I knew we were coming on here to talk about judgments, like, wow, where's my judgment in this? Because obviously I was judging that family from what I thought how they were, and they don't own any of that.
Yeah.
They don't own any of that.
And that's a wonderful example, because there's a lot of people who don't own their behavior.
Yes.
One of the things both these ladies have heard me crack up about this or complain about it or have an opinion about it, but is there's a whole thing, especially in the younger generation, where they could say the most vile, hateful thing to somebody, and then they say these words, just saying, like somehow that neutralized everything. Just saying, and like it neutralized everything they said, and they don't have to own it, or that they did say whatever. And it's like, wow. And there is a perspective, and it's not my job to give you a new perspective. I can ask and maybe help you shift a paradigm, but if you're not going there, you're not going there. And at the end of our lives, I'm only going to be talking about what I did.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to go up there and say, well, Amy said, pretty sure,
Yeah.
That's like when you insert, because we're talking about words, we're talking about conversation, we're talking about how we speak. When you say something and then you insert that but, which negates everything you said before. Oh, I totally agree with you. But it negates everything that you are maybe saying before that but. Because you don't really believe it. That's why you insert that and go on to say your own.
When you read some of Byron Katie's works and people, the word but has a judgment to it.
Exactly.
It
That's
does.
right.
Because
keep your butt out of it.
Keep your butt out of it. Or you're just saying, keep your butt out of it, like, but it
and no judgment on the size of it.
No.
Oh crap.
But yeah, it is one of those amazing things that they have tentacles. Our judgments have tentacles. And I am glad to be here tonight, ladies, talking about it, because we do see it, and it's a check that we have with each other. And I do realize, Facebook has an algorithm so that you meet like-minded people. And sometimes I worry about some of the stuff I've seen and who's on their page. Not my paradigm to worry about. Spirit's much more in charge of that. So again, we go back to, what words do I say?
Yeah.
And what words do I mean? And that kind of reality check I was talking about with Neptune of, wow, what addictions do I follow because I'm right, or I'm trying to make sense. And everybody's just trying to make sense out of their own life.
Yeah.
And most people that are in this group, that are watching this group, probably at one time or another, if they haven't, they will come across people that will judge you for your beliefs, for your spiritual beliefs, for the things you believe in, for the, the message you're trying to share. And so it's important to have this conversation so that we have some tools and we know how to kind of react or just have a different way of thinking. Because, I don't know about most people out here, but I know if I was to tell my family all the experiences that I've had with spirit and stuff, they wouldn't understand, and there'd be a lot of judgment in there. So it's nice to have a community where we can talk about this, but we can talk about how we react to it and what our part is in it as well.
I had recently just this week, I posted a video from, I actually did it accidentally to my page rather than Intuition of the Soul, but that's another story. And it was our friend Jeanette Byro, who is a medium, and she was talking about free will. And I have a dear friend who loves me and I love her, and she worries because it isn't her opinion. But what she wrote was so beautiful. I find this to be misguided for what I understand. And she said, for what I understand. I hope that you have guidance for this. She didn't say, follow what I want. And her name is Linda. And she said, but I love you, Kitty. And she didn't say, but she said, I love you, Kitty. And I wrote back, I love you too, Linda. We're on a journey together. So that is, you can be worried about someone, but that was such a loving way to say, this is not how I understand it, and I love you. And so that was agreeing to disagree very publicly, but very much, I when I see her, I'm going to give her an extra hug, because she doesn't have to agree with what I posted, but her message of worry and love, and then she was done with it. She didn't give me a Bible quote. She didn't anything. She just said, I love you.
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
that's what we can remember. We can remember. And even if we see things that we want to reach out, that's a great way to do it. Yes, it is. We judge when we don't know it.
Thank you, Tina, for saying that. I'm not sure how many people are going to see this, and I wish, like you do, that more people would be open to a discussion like this. Chris, a link to join what conversation is my question. Chris wants to know if there's a link to join the conversation. Agreed, Joe and Heather, you were hilarious. Do you mean like a Facebook group or something? Is that what you're asking, Chris?
Is it Chris a boy or a girl? I don't know who Chris is.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Chris wants to come on. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know who Chris is.
I would encourage anybody who's watching this, though. That's a great point, Chris. Have this conversation.
Yeah.
I watched a show the other day, and 3 women who are friends were talking about judgments, and sit down with people and talk about it, and say, hey, what do you think judgments are? And I do agree that it is about there's copper. It is about all of us learning to talk to our friends about it. It's funny. I told my son we were doing this tonight, and you know what he said to me? Can you send that invite to 5 people I know? And I said, what? And I said, what 5 people? And he said, there are 5. He said 5 judges on the Supreme Court. And I'm and I just started laughing. And I said, are you judging the judges? And he said, well, I would like them to participate in a conversation about judgments.
Kitty, even if there's only this many people, and I don't know how many because I can't see the number, however many people are watching it now or will watch it, those people can talk to 2 or 3 of their friends, who can talk to 3 of their friends. And so the conversation can get out there. And that's exactly what we need to have happen. We need to have very high vibration conversations out there in the world, even if they're
expand your thought,
and it just spirals, because cosmos mirrors us, right? So what we're putting out there, and so even if we're not impacting that many people right now, doesn't mean people on here aren't going to go talk to their people, and then they're going to talk to
You
their
know,
people. So it's a beautiful thing to send that energy out and let
yeah,
it
it
just
really is.
go
Yeah,
everywhere.
good point, Amy. And hey, go look up the Byron Katie. If you worry about what Facebook looks like, post it on your Facebook.
Yeah.
Start a conversation
Right.
about that kind of stuff. I mean, here's Stephanie, all of the people that have been on tonight and how this will go out, because Stephanie said, okay, I really want to have a conversation about judgments. And Amy and I had this last year when we brought Ginger Rasp on, because we were seeing in our spiritual community some really, really big judgments, like somebody telling me that this was a higher than this kind of skill to have, like mediumship is more advanced, and I'm like, whoa, it, wow, like, and there a lot of values, and that's what judgments are, is assigning our values to somebody else or something else,
Yeah.
So
yeah. Chris, we weren't letting people come up, just anybody coming up on this. We may do that in the future, but just not on this one right now.
It's harder to do it on this one, but maybe that calls for a Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom, and then people can come on and
because there's a limit on StreamYard how many people can come, and Zoom.
Yeah,
and
but you got to get them the link, and it's so it's a little.
Yeah, we're not going to do
a little more complicated than Zoom.
Yeah, you're right, Tina. The ripple effect.
Yeah,
it is. You drop the stone in, and it
Yeah.
expands, and it's an expansive vibration. As much as we kind of focus on that dense, this kind of vibration, we know that a ripple is more than the denseness of the stone that gets dropped in. So it does go out from that. So
yeah,
Exactly.
Stephanie, this was a great idea.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ah,
That's from being themselves. Yeah, I agree.
That's a good point, Heather, that we haven't really touched on.
Yeah, Heather
we are
says
afraid of being judged. Some
we
of
are.
us are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So many of us, in our awakening, in what we're doing, so many of us, our first initial conversation is, oh my God, I don't want to tell anybody because they'll think I'm weird, or they'll think I'm crazy, or they'll disown me, or they'll argue with me, or whatever. And so that is very, very common with any of us that are light workers, that are into spiritual, something that's different than normal religion, what people deem as normal religion, or accepted religion. And I've heard people in the last couple of years talk about things that I'm like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? You're crazy. And now I'm like, damn, they were right. It's like, for instance, somebody told me not too long ago that, and this is the difference between the 3D and the 5D, that money doesn't exist. Mortgages don't exist. None of it is real. You don't own anything. You don't anything. Like, I don't own the land I'm on, even though I think I do. None of this is real. And a few months, several months ago, I was like, what are you talking about? Of course money exists. Of course, but it doesn't. Everything that we live by outside of ourselves is something that we allow somebody else to put on us. It's really not real.
Right. And it's the value we assign to it. So I understand about people's fear, but and I think you two would agree, as we have traveled and been more accepting of ourselves and more accepting of others, then, like the lady that got in Amy's face, that sounds like your problem. Even if I'm disowned, there are other people I can be around. And what's actually funny happened for me is I don't get people who come at me now. I attract the people. It's that law of attraction that go, hey, I'm kind of interested in that.
Yeah.
Or the folks like my friend Linda just says, I love you. And I know, and that's fine. Our fears we build about other people's judgment is putting what you're saying, Stephanie, that value outside, putting a reality that we're giving it its power.
Right.
So
Right.
And it kind of goes back to that point too, that, we sometimes worry about what they'll think of us, and they're not thinking of us at all.
no.
Because they
Mhm.
don't care, or it's just not
Right.
that thing. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's that whole thing, like, Kitty's getting all upset about this. Those people they don't even know she's driving. They don't even care she's mad. They don't have that kind of thing too. So sometimes it's, we put that on ourselves, and it might not be,
Yeah.
they might not care. And the other point to that is, what people think about you is none of your business. So
It is
you
true.
don't care.
What other people think of you is none of your
None of your
business.
You
It's
don't
really,
care then.
you know,
So sometimes I think that's when we get caught up in that fear of what are they going to think. They're not thinking about you at all.
Right.
and what's happened for me over the years is, and both of these ladies can attest to that, is when somebody says something now that should trigger me, I can look at them and go, "Who asked you?" And they go, "What?" And I go,
Yeah.
"Who asked you?"
Right.
I get, like, and it's truly a question, like, "Oh, who asked you?"
Mhm.
Like, so it is such a funny way we come around when we accept that I got to accept myself, and I'm barely my own business. Let alone what you think of,
That's what
like,
Kay always says.
yeah,
Yeah,
my life
it's
is
none of
barely
their
my
business
own
what they
business.
think about, but it's not really mine even.
Yeah,
Right.
like, it's not mine, so it's barely
Yeah.
my own business. So why I can't possibly spend time worrying about your business? So, you know,
Yes, Tina. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love
That's the
that,
whole
Tina.
purpose of this,
Yeah.
is to hold that space and try to touch as many people in a positive way as we can, so that then, to Kitty's and Amy's point, the ripple effect, and Tina might have said that, or whoever said that, can then ripple to another person, and then ripple to another person. Because I did not feel a lot of this until I started working with all of these people. And then Kitty started with the 4 questions with me, and I'm like, damn it, why is she calling me out all the time? And then finally it clicked, and I was like, okay, before I say that, let me think about it.
Is
know,
that true?
it was.
Really
I
true.
remember that Thanksgiving, and she said, "Okay, before I go," I said, "Well, what do you want to see?" And she came back and said, "I had a great time. It didn't matter if this happened, and it didn't matter if that happened, and
Yeah.
it doesn't." And I thank the light that we all are walking this together, because frankly, I could go off the path and be in the water and climb in the mud, pretty
Yeah.
quickly, so
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
I
like,
found a sense of freedom when I
Yes.
detached from some of these things and
Yes.
judgments, and trying to be kind and trying to just live, my life in a different way. It's just a newfound freedom, and it just feels really, really, really good.
and
Right.
And that's what I want for everybody.
and
I want everyone to feel that
Right.
freedom and have that sense of, you know, um,
Amy, that's so important, because, but honestly, just start with detaching. You detach
Mhm.
with love and beauty and grace, you can get there. But sometimes you have to just start with detaching.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the best I can come up with, and then be kind to yourself.
yeah.
Just,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. And we're not saying, live under a rock or live with your head in the sand. We're not saying that at all. What we're saying is live in a more positive way. Keep your judgments and your opinions and your beliefs to yourself, because it's nobody else's business. And do your duty of whatever you have to do to, whatever it is, vote, whatever it is that you've got to do. So we're not saying, big ignorant about things, but what we're saying is put out the light, put out the love, put out the positivity, and don't attract the negativity. And if enough of us do that, then maybe someday people will be nicer and we won't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, they will be in your world because that's the world you
That's what you're
create.
attracting.
You know, and
Exactly.
God, and if you are called to action and to service, whether it's in a public forum, private, political, then you can take this light there and keep the judgments out of it and teach others in that ripple. Not everybody can do it the same way. And again,
Correct.
that's where we let go, you
And
know.
it starts with my favorite word, intention. It
Mhm.
starts with your intention.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
like this is how I'm going to choose to react to this situation. This is how I'm going to choose to go out in my life today. This is what I'm going to choose. It's all choice. It's your intention. What are you going to put into it? You know, what do you want to watch? If it's triggering, if something's triggering you, to watch it.
Right.
You know, keep yourself informed, but not enmeshed in
Right.
it. You know, so
Right.
yeah, you're not living under a rock, but you're choosing intentionally what you want to take in, what energy you want to take in whatever form that is, you know,
Yeah.
physically, you know, visually. Yeah. So use that intention of how you want to live your life.
Exactly. Because as an empath, as somebody that absorbs everything, I've turned my TV off 4 years ago or longer. I don't use my TV except to watch football. And that's if I'm, if I have people here. I don't live under a rock. I will be informed if I have to be. I get the headlines, whatnot, but I don't allow it to trigger me. I don't allow it to rule my mood. I don't allow it to suck me in. So yeah, it's a choice. I chose to not. I got in the car the other night.
That's why there's an off button.
There is an off button. I got in the car the other night to go to an investigation. And when I turned it on, it was like news and it was all bad, like bad, bad, bad. And I'm like, what station do I have on? And I looked and I'm like, I never get in the car apparently when the news is on. And I'm like, damn it, turn that crap off. Hello, Fluff and Stuff from Australia.
I love that.
Yeah, you know, it and
Hi, Heather just hit it. She just hit it.
Yep.
She
Right
believes
now,
there's
that's
more
so
positive.
true.
Yeah, there's more positive energy in the world than negative, but the negative energy yells the loudest to get the most attention.
well,
Thank you.
that's why I like to use the words dense and expanded. Denseness is easier to see and feel. Expandedness takes quiet to tune into. Yes, I believe that too, which is, and by the way, we're media. You know, whenever somebody says, oh, the media, guess what? We're media. So what you participate in it is what is created.
Mhm.
You know, there are as many beautiful stories on there. I seem to be able to tune into those than
Yeah,
because when the other stuff comes on, oh, nope.
Yep.
And so,
exactly.
Yeah.
so we are the media.
Exactly.
We are social media. We participate. We are connected. It saved us in 2020, folks.
Yeah.
In that is my opinion. It saved us. What would a pandemic been like if we were all sitting in our little box by ourselves? That's how I
Yeah.
met these ladies.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lot of things that media can help us magnify when we put it to the right way. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. Exactly. I
so just
love
what
this.
Heather said. So let's find the positive to multiply. And that's not rainbows and joy. And we know there's sadness and there's heaviness, but also our reaction to that and helping people when that happens is a part
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
So
It's just that you don't, I wish everybody would just go back to, it's nobody's business. It's just the only business your thoughts are and your opinions and beliefs are you. And you're not here to judge others. So stop broadcasting, unless you want to just broadcast love and light and be there for people. And I'm just going to leave it there. The squeaky wheel, gets the oil, gets the grease. And I just get tired of people that feel like they need to just be in your face about what they believe in. You don't. It's nobody's business. It's just nobody's business. Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
I had pizza that night, but it was real pizza.
Apparently, Fluff and Stuff does food videos, and she also fishes a lot. So apparently, she must have done a video
Ooh, she didn't
earlier
have
of a
fish
pizza.
did she?
No, but then Heather said she checked it out, and then she says, "Oh God, it was disgusting."
And so, of course,
Ooh, yuck.
some places we're talking to for us, the three of us, we're at coming up to 9 o'clock at night. We're like, why are we talking about eating? And there are
Yeah.
other people who are at dinner time and lunchtime,
yeah.
and it's like,
And these guys are in the morning.
And then there's Taurus who finds a reason to eat anytime.
Oh yes, Taurus love eating.
Yeah.
They like to talk about it. They like to savor it. They like to watch videos about it. They
They like to cook it. They like to
cook,
smell it.
you know.
Yeah.
It's not for sustaining. It's a pleasure for them. So
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
Yes.
Anyway.
All right. So, is it true? Do you know it's true? Do you really know it's true? I always miss the third one. What is it, Kitty?
Third one is how do you react? What happens when you believe that it's true?
What happens to you when you believe it's true, and then
true.
what would happen
if you didn't
believe that anymore?
believe it? Okay. So what happens when you believe it's true, and then what would happen if you didn't?
What happens to you specifically?
What happens to me?
you?
Okay.
You know,
Right,
I
so
want to
is
tell
it
people.
true?
Yeah.
Is it really true? Okay.
Yeah,
Are you
nobody
absolutely sure?
Yeah. So she's saying Ghostly Whisper says she gets judged for being a vegetarian. And that's something that I wanted to talk about a little bit because, there's a lot of arguments going back and forth between science and religion and what this person says and what that person says and when cells become not cells anymore and blah, blah, blah. And so somebody said something, I don't follow all of that. I haven't followed all of that. So I was reading this one post and I was like, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. So I guess, people that don't believe in eating meat because they don't want to slaughter, I don't know, this is why she doesn't eat meat, but they don't want to slaughter an animal or whatnot. I guess they weren't deemed murderers because the animal doesn't have a soul. How do you know it doesn't have a soul? I believe animals have a soul. I believe everything on the earth has a soul. I believe a plant has a soul. I can talk to a plant and watch it grow and be happy and bloom. Who are we to say you don't have a soul? So it's just interesting to me. Start to think about that. Do you know? Do you know it to be true that animals don't have a soul?
Right. And again, it's a personal decision. It's a personal, we chose a sovereign, connected existence. It's not completely sovereign and it's not completely connected. So that's what this discussion is.
Mm-hmm.
My life is my business, my source, my God, whatever I want to call it. It's a personal co-creation relationship, I believe. Yeah. And so I thank you sometimes for your opinion. Sometimes I don't care, or who asked you. And and on we go, because my life is barely my own business. So,
right.
I have to say goodbye, ladies, because I have guests who are here, and I made a commitment to be off at 9. So I don't know if you're going to keep going or what your thoughts are.
Yeah, we've got quite a few people. I'm going to stay on for a little bit. If you want to, or whatever you want to do.
Okay. I say thank you to everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. And it was an amazing conversation. And I look forward to watching from this point on. Blessings.
Well,
namaste.
Thank your son and his girlfriend for giving us this time away from you.
Yes.
Tell them we appreciate that they let you come
So for those who are watching, my son is here. We bought some land and they're here for really the first big vacation to help us work on this land. And so I'm going to go and join my company. Much love, ladies.
Thank you, Kitty. Thank you,
All
Kitty.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
And I do believe I'm a animal communicator. So yes, I believe that I've seen animals cry. And I believe they do have a soul. And again, I do believe, I mean, what was it? The mushroom noise? Yeah. I mean, mushrooms make noise, for goodness sake. And so all living things are, yeah, absolutely. So I really feel like, and I do eat meat. I'm sorry. I do. I don't eat a lot of it, but I do. And I try not to think about, where it came from. But I did grow up, my grandparents' garage was a slaughterhouse. So I kind of grew up with it, knowing where it came from. But yeah, I absolutely don't know why anyone should think they should judge you for being a vegetarian. That's absolutely retarded. If you choose to eat grass, it's none of anybody's business. So they do all make noise, Jamie.
Grass is living too.
It is. It is.
Yeah. I mean, this has been a great conversation, and I think that we could talk about it all night and come up with examples and this kind of stuff. But I guess it's just really important, though, that we start some of these conversations. We need to change the conversations that we're having in the world right now.
Yeah.
And so we can just start with a few friends,
right,
and do the ripple effect, like Tina said. I think that make a huge impact. At least that's my hope.
right.
Because we do need to change the discourse
Right.
right now. It's not, we're creating a new world. All this new energy is coming in. And so we got to get up to speed.
Yeah. Just think if we could affect enough people to then affect enough people to where instead of pointing fingers and screaming at each other, people actually had a conversation and came to agreements instead of screaming at each other. So I would love to see that. I would absolutely
agree to disagree, because
Mhm.
that's really what it's about. There's no right or wrong. I mean, it's your opinion. Then again, keep the judgment out of it, but agree
Mhm.
to disagree. And that's the beauty in it. We're all individuals. We all have different beliefs about everything.
Right.
I mean, you can
Right.
have someone you agree with 80% of the time, but you're still going to find something that you don't always agree on. So,
Right. Yeah, because we're human.
but you love that person and you respect that person, and it's okay.
Right. Yeah. So you have to just think about it. I try, and it's very hard. We're human. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
But when somebody starts to trigger me, I try to think of it differently. I try to say, okay, am I really going to go there, or am I just going to smile and say, okay, And so I'm trying, and it's so liberating to just say, okay, and just move on.
Again, exactly right there, because what you said, that part goes with what you said. It's nobody's business what I think. I mean, I can choose to say that. I can choose that, but I don't have to. And that doesn't mean you don't have an opinion or have a thought about it. You're just not choosing to, get involved in it. And that is very liberating, because you're like, that's pulling away from that drama. That can be pulling away from that drama sometimes.
Thank you, Jamie. Good night. Yeah, it is. It is. And I just keep going back. Think about you're only responsible for yourself, your actions, and your reactions.
Absolutely.
I agree. I
just think that, and I think we waste too much time worrying about what other people think, when, quite frankly, they're probably not thinking about you at all.
Well, that is so interesting, because I remember Tina and I were at a show where they had like a girls' weekend out in my old hometown. Well, it's really not my hometown; it's where I went to high school. And they're having a girls' weekend out, and this place that we had investigated asked us if we wanted to have a table. And so we put a table, and we had our crystal grids and our crystals and jewelry and whatnot. And So a band played later, and it really wasn't well advertised. So there wasn't a lot of people anyway. And the front of the building was like the pizza place and the bar. And then the back of the building is where we were. And then the band was in the very back. And so even people that came in, there was maybe 4 tables set up. Even people that came in knew who we were, saw us, and like went the other direction because, oh my God, there are crystals and, you know, whatever. And so there was these ladies that came that I didn't know them, but they were there to watch the band. And so I just struck up a conversation with them as we were tearing stuff down, and they went off on me about the Bible and the this and the that, and like yelling at me. And I got all upset. And then I started to rethink what I was doing. And am I wrong? Should I not be doing what I'm doing? But to your point, Amy, after that night, they probably never, ever had another thought about me because they didn't care. They were just trying to, you know, pass judgment on me, and that was it. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but to your point, from now on, I'm going to try to think in it that way by saying, okay, I'm never going to see them again. In a lot of cases, I'm never going to see them again. If I am going to see them again, so what? Just walk away from it.
Yeah.
And they'll forget about it anyway. So yeah.
Right.
But we have to be true to ourselves. We have to be our authentic self. We have to live who we are and why we're here. And we can't worry about what other people think about us because, again, it's none of their business.
And when you walk that walk, when you get to that point where you walk that walk, you don't really care what other people think about you because you know that you are living your authentic life with your authentic self, and you don't really care what they think about you. Not to sound cold or harsh or anything, but you just don't really care. Point in case with that lady, I just had to say, hey, that sounds like your problem, not mine. I didn't really care what she thought about me, you know, and not saying I didn't care about her as a person. I just didn't care what she thought about me, her opinion.
Yeah.
And that's the way, you know, you get to when you're living that authentic life, because we will be judged. It's inevitable.
Right.
If we haven't been already.
Right.
You know, and it's how you react to it and what you do with that.
Right.
How you stay true to yourself.
Right. Stephen, you have a point. And I mean, I think that way sometimes, but Heather said it way back in the beginning that we have not socially matured with technology of social media. So, you know, Kitty said, social media, the internet has been our saving grace when the world shut down on one hand. The propaganda, a different hand. But for us to be able to connect with people and inspire people, it's been great.
Yeah.
You know,
I wouldn't know you, Stephanie. I wouldn't know Kitty.
Exactly.
Without social media.
Yeah.
Or any of these other people that are on here watching.
Yeah. It's just how you use it. You know, just like with anything else, it's how you use it. And I like to blame, you know, social media. I like to blame a lot of things on social media, but I would be lost if I didn't have all of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is what got me through when we were pretty much isolated and they had to stay home.
Yeah.
It was really what helped me, you know, in so many ways.
Right.
And if it doesn't help you, get the hell off it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
If you get people that are on your feed that you don't want on there, block them.
Mm-hmm.
Get off Facebook. Don't follow anybody that triggers you or that you don't agree with as far as anything.
Right.
I've like seen people and I went, wow, maybe I'll kind of watch some of their things. They're really interested. I get in there, none of it resonates with me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to follow you. I'm done, you know, kind of thing. And that's okay. That's not a judgment on that person. I just don't resonate with their experiences or what they're sharing. You know, you don't have to watch them. You don't have to follow them. You don't even have to participate.
And that's what I always say. My mom gets so upset, and I'm like, I don't use my personal wall, and I don't necessarily follow personal people. I follow groups that I feel safe in. I follow groups that I feel are positive. I follow groups that I feel resonate with. So Chef Sketty says, I've run into people lately smiling and saying hello to strangers. I live in Florida, and maybe people are seemingly happy here, but seems more smiles and hellos lately. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's very hard to be mean to somebody that's smiling at you or that's being nice to you. It really is very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Was used
Well,
to
and
create good in the world rather than hate.
we've
It
missed
would
each
be
other. You know what I mean? I think that this isolation, we've missed each other. So to get out and to be able to see people and to be able to interact with them without, fears of, COVID or whatever. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that kind of thing. You've missed that human companion, even with strangers.
Mm-hmm.
You never know who your strangers are. I had this conversation the other day. Strangers can be hidden angels. You don't know. You don't know who that stranger is you're talking to.
Right.
You don't know what message they're bringing to you.
Right.
You don't know who that really is. And I've had a lot of those encounters. So
yeah. So have I. And we don't even know now that we're learning to pick them out. We don't even know how many we've actually encountered in our lifetime. So now it's like, wow, if we had known before,
That's exactly true, and I love that point because you go back and you go, wow, I never thought of that in a different perspective, in a different way. How did that happen, or what happened there? And maybe that person wasn't who I think that person was, if they helped you in a way or brought some inspiration or kindness or something into your life. A stranger I'm talking about, Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Listening.
Yes, Heather.
Exactly.
Yes, Heather. Okay, so I have to tell a little bit of story that comes with that, and I love what Chef Sketty said. So think about.
I love the name Chef Sketty.
Think about how much easier and how much better you feel if you, instead of getting irritated with somebody that's in your way in the store, if you feel irritated by that person, how about if you feel, can I help you get that off the top shelf? Or here, can I help move your cart out of my way? And be nice to them and smile to them versus, God, they're in my way and they can't just get the damn thing off the top shelf, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was recently, I worked with Network of Executive Women that is now Next Up. And I've worked with them for years and years and years. And we empower women. We help women, advance in the workplace, et cetera. And they're about a lot of things. But I've worked with them since almost the beginning. And the Cincinnati chapter is one of the largest. And I've had the pleasure of meeting people like Gina Davis, Condoleezza Rice, Jen, why is it? Oh my God. I can't think of it right. Jennifer Garner. How could I forget Jennifer Garner?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
13 going on 30.
Right. All of these amazing people and then amazing business people, et cetera. And we just had Laura Ling, and I hadn't read her book. I really did not know her complete story. I just knew that she was detained in North Korea for 150 days. And, initially I'm like, well, what the hell are you over there for anyway, to get, captured and detained, would stay in the United States. That was kind of my initial thought about it. So anyway, I listened to her speak at this event and I cried, and I'll probably cry now. I cried the entire time listening to her plight and what happened and how her intuition, she said this, my intuition failed me. And the next thing you know, I'm following our guide over the river into North Korea. And I never planned on going over there. I was in China. And, she just goes on to tell her story. And the fact that she is still alive and inspire and able to inspire other people is amazing after what she went through. This tiny little woman that's like tiny, like I am two of her, and she was able to make it. And to Heather's point, what happened was when they finally were allowed to have phone calls and write their families and whatnot, one of the things that she and her husband would do is they wrote each other and they said every night at a certain time, her time, she would sit in a certain spot in her cell and he would sit in a certain spot in their house, and they would think of each other and they would each think of one thing they were grateful for that day before she would lay her head down.
Mhm.
And she said that thing could be that I saw a butterfly out my cell window, or that I got 3 meals, as horrible as they were, when I know the people in North Korea aren't eating. And that was how she got through, because she said, don't get me wrong, I wanted to take my own life many, many times. So then they were allowed to talk to people on the phone, and she was talking to her sister, Lisa Ling, and the people were saying, telling her, for you to be rescued, we need you to get so-and-so here. We need, and they came down to, they wanted President Clinton to come and get them. They demanded President Clinton. And of course, her sister was like, oh, okay, sure, no problem. I'll get them. So in the end, the 150th day, she was reunited with the other woman that was with her that could have gotten away, except she stopped to help Laura, who had fallen right as they were getting back on China territory. And they were reunited and they were taken to a hotel, and they were told that somebody was there to get them, but it wasn't a done deal. And so she said that they were marched down this long hallway of the hotel and past all these Korean soldiers. And at the end of this long hallway, she could see a United States American serviceman or Secret Service guy, or whatever. And she thought, oh my God, it's true. There was somebody from the US here to save me. And when they got down there, President Clinton looked at them and said, it's not a done deal, but I am not leaving here without you. So that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is the reason why the North Korean ruler wanted President Clinton is because when his father passed away, President Clinton was the first person in the in the universe, in the world, to call him and offer his condolences. And that ruler never forgot that. Never forgot that kindness. That one phone call saved these two women's lives. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he would go over there to get them saved their lives. So Heather, absolutely. The smallest kind thing that you can do for somebody can save them, make their day, save their life. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if what they're contemplating. You just don't know. And so absolutely. Never underestimate the smallest, kindest gesture.
Right. And you may never know. And that's okay too. You don't do it because you might find out that helps someone. You do it because it's the right thing to do, because you may never know. I learned that as a teacher. I do not know how I impacted these children's life unless I run into one of them and then they tell me, or we have a conversation. But that isn't why I was doing it. So it's that kind of thing. It's just being a good human.
It is being a good human. Absolutely. Sue, that's great. That
was a great story, Sue.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, Heather doing what she's done. And all of us are teachers here, whether we've actually taught, but I mean, Kitty taught the blind and, it's just, we have so much influence and we don't even know our power.
Yes, we do.
So and
that's okay, because that keeps us humble, right?
It does. It does. Because none of us are better than the other one.
That's right. So stay humble and kind.
We're all
McGraw song, always stay humble and kind.
That's right. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I spent my day at the lake, and I am just about exhausted, but I did not want to miss this. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for inviting me. It's a very important topic, and something that we're all passionate about, and that's why so many people joined, because they wanted to be a part of that. And I love the idea that at some point doing it where people can come on and share
Yeah.
their stories and their opinions or their things that have happened and all that kind of stuff. That would be really cool to have a big interactive thing.
Right. Yeah,
if
we
they
are
want
gonna.
to. And sometimes people don't come on to participate. They just come on to again just watch and stuff. But that would be
right. And we are going to continue to have these. Sometimes I'll be by myself. I am going to continue to talk about my cancer journey to try to inspire others. So coming up will be like the some of the lessons that cancer did teach me. Will be one. My earth angels that I did meet and that walked with me on my journey. I'm going to have somebody come on and talk about gaslighting and what that means, and we'll touch on narcissism, etc. I'm not going to have a scheduled this time of the day on this day of the week, because I'm not going to pigeonhole it like that. But just if you are watching, please subscribe and hit that bell, and then you'll know when we're
then
on.
You can just share it out when you have a new segment coming on. I think it's a great idea. Again, I've said this before. I've probably said it too many times tonight, but we need to change the discourse in our world, and we need to change how we communicate with each other. And this is the first step.
And if anybody has a topic that they would like to discuss or want to be a guest, please let me know. All of my information is in my About section on my YouTube channel, so you can email me, website, whatnot. I do have something really exciting. I believe it's going to be next Tuesday night. What was that?
Okay, I don't know, because it looked like it went on your and my screen. So
okay,
I don't know what that was.
We'll have to watch that back. That was weird.
It kind of went all the way across.
Oh, that was weird.
So did you see that?
Okay, so I think it's going to be next Tuesday night, but Dusty saw
that. Okay.
Michelle from the Paranormal Experiencer, who's also Cosmos and Spread, and I are going to start a new live, and I believe the first one will be next Tuesday, but we are going to be on Cosmos and Spread, her channel, and also on Get Spooky Society. And we are going to do not just live card readings, but Michelle is going to do live scrying readings.
Ooh.
Yeah. So look for that to come out. So that's going to be very exciting.
Nice.
Did it go from her screen to my screen?
I don't think it went from my screen to hers.
Odd.
That's weird.
Well, remember, Neptune being in retrograde, Kitty did say a lot of spirits are going to be showing up. So,
oh, gosh. And I'm telling you, and they always come when you're sleeping, because that's when they know your mind's quiet. And they keep you up all night. Okay, but not tonight. No. I had that the other day. I'm just like, I felt like I was waking up every hour, but every hour I woke up, there was a message that I got. I'm like, okay. And I go back to sleep. And I felt like it was like all night long.
Well, speaking of that, before you and I jump off, after we shut this down, I need to tell you about a dream I had that I just remembered from this morning and see what you think about it. But
perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and actually watch the replay on that and see what it looked like again. Yeah.
Was Kitty watching?
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to tell her to watch that too.
Yeah. Well, at least we know it's towards the end. So
yes.
Yeah, we know where it was.
Night or right?
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. I feel better. I feel really good right now. And
I do too.
It was very, very lovely. Love that all of you guys
the energy that all these beautiful people brought with them as well.
Yeah. And be looking for the next Optimize and Hold the Space to come out. And then also, again, I think it's going to be next Tuesday when Michelle and I go live and do readings and scrying. So
Okay.
yeah, we're going to see what happens. Going to
Okay.
shake it up a little bit. All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
And beautiful.